We can, in fact, make things better.
After the governor's announcement, Utahns had a lot of questions about what the new risk levels and guidelines mean. So we went to the Department of Health, which is now in charge of it. Jenny asks, does this give the health department more authority?
It's not necessarily an authority issue. It's more of a clarity issue in terms of which counties are in which transmission level and how we make those decisions and how we communicate it.
Nick wants to know if the new rules have any effect on gyms.
Primarily, everybody in that business or everybody in that gym needs to maintain 6 feet of physical distancing. And if they can't, they need to wear a mask. Randy
has a question about high school sports.
High school sports are governed by a formal organization, so we treat those as events. High school sports can go on. Players on the field, players on the court do not have to be wearing masks, but spectators in the stands do, and spectators in the stands should maintain physical distancing.
JCS asks about schools and why they aren't moved to online only in high transmission counties.
Beyond just allowing a child to learn in that environment, a lot of times schools provide food for kids, 2 meals a day. They provide structure for those kids. And oftentimes they provide parents with the ability to go to work. So we feel like the schools, working with their local health departments and working with their boards of education, have good plans in place. They know what to do in terms of going hybrid if they need to.
Holly asks where daycare facilities rank. Are they schools or gatherings?
Daycare facilities actually have their own set of standards that are issued by the Office of Child Care Licensing. So daycare facilities are treated like a business, so they should follow business guidelines. In addition, there are specific guidelines that we have sent out directly to child care centers in terms of what they need to be doing to keep the kids and the staff in those centers safe.
Julie asks about weddings and receptions because her granddaughter's getting married. The Department of Health says reception centers can have more than 10 people if they can guarantee people are 6 feet apart.
If you're having a wedding in your backyard this weekend and you're in a county that's in a high or moderate risk level, you should have fewer than 10 people there.
Jennifer wants to know about elective surgeries.
I have heard that there are some healthcare systems that are starting to scale back on some of the elective surgeries that they're doing, but there's nothing in the index right now about elective surgeries.
This question is about face masks and how long they're required, particularly in moderate level areas.
Masks are required in the high transmission levels, and they are also required in the moderate transmission levels for the next 2 weeks. We wanted to do a bit of a shock the system or a circuit breaker, and we feel like by having this requirement in place for 2 weeks in areas of moderate, we will hopefully start to see a change over those couple weeks, and then we'll reevaluate and determine where to go from there.
Kevin says restrictions without enforcement seems like more of the same. And what does the governor believe will make people change if there's no consequences to get people to comply this time around?
Public health orders are enforceable. There is a criminal penalty that could be associated with them. The intent really is to have good, solid recommendations and requirements in place and make sure that the public understands why they're in place and to help with that compliance that way.
Tom asks, what's the deal with church? Is it in the gathering category that's limited to 10? What I'm really asking is if I have to give my talk on Sunday.
So churches do not need to limit their formal worship services to 10 or fewer, or 25 or 50, depending on where they are. We treat formal church services as events, and so they don't have any limit on the number of people who can attend, but there are some requirements on the people who are in attendance. They need to wear masks, and they need to maintain physical distancing.
Travis asks, will everything be open? Will things ever be normal?
What we're trying to put in place is a structure that gets us through the point where we have a good vaccine in place that's got good uptake, and we eventually do get back to the way things used to be. But people need to understand that it's not going to happen overnight, and it's definitely not going to happen without their cooperation.
These new restrictions go into effect on Thursday. We've got a link to more resources at fox13now.com. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.